Perhaps you've heard of our history, sometimes mistaking us for the Han people. But don't worry, I'm here to tell you the story of the Vietnamese. I won't try to glorify our military victories. Instead, I'll share with you the spirit and thoughts of our people. Through that, you may come to understand why our nation, though small in size, is so resilient and full of pride. No matter what hardships we face, we rise. Long, long ago, when heaven and earth were still near, and the misty mountains had yet to be named, there lived a northern emperor, a descendant of the Flame Emperor. His name was Damin. One day, he journeyed south. While traveling through the southern lands, he reached the mist-shrouded peaks of the 5 ranges, where clouds and rivers danced together in silence. There, he encountered a dreamlike maiden, the daughter of the fairy Vian Chun. From their sacred union, a son was born, King Duong Vuong, whose birth name was Lo Tuc, the very first king of the southern realm. He was noble in bearing, serene in spirit, and wise beyond his years. So gifted was he that even his father, Emperor Damin, was in awe. Wishing to pass the throne to this extraordinary son, the emperor offered him the crown. Yet King Duong Vuong humbly declined, asking that his elder brother, De Gi, be made heir instead. So it was that Damin appointed De Gi to rule the north, and entrusted the south, then known as Jiao Chu, to King Duong Vuong. Thus began the journey of the southern king. He wandered across mountains and rivers, seeking the heart of the land. When he arrived at Hon Cho, now Guan, Vietnam, he found a sacred region, a valley ringed by 199 majestic peaks, like jade pillars, guarding a heavenly palace. Sensing that this was a land blessed by the heavens, he built a capital there, raising palaces to welcome the tribute of the 4 corners of the world. One warm spring, when flowers blossomed and birdsong filled the air, the king boarded a dragon boat and set sail upon the sea. Carried by the wind, he drifted to the crystal waters of Lake Dong Din, nestled among green mountains. There, rising from the shimmering depths, he saw a vision, an ethereal maiden of unmatched beauty. Her name was Than Long, daughter of the Dragon Lord of Dong Din Lake. She said, "I have waited beneath the waters, in a palace of jade and silence, for a hero written in the stars. Now that destiny has brought us together, I offer myself to serve you, always and forever." The king, moved and overjoyed, welcomed her aboard the dragon boat. From that moment, she became his queen, living beside him in the southern palace. In time, his travels brought him to Esen Tang, then Lang Esen, and finally to Gia Lin Mountain. There, he saw that the land's veins, its dragon paths, converged in harmony. Rivers bowed like courtiers, mountains stood in reverence. Knowing this was the most sacred ground, he named it the capital and called his realm Than Lang. One quiet day at the Gia Lin Palace, Queen Than Long conceived. Auspicious signs appeared, lights danced in the sky, the scent of sandalwood filled the air. 15 months later, she gave birth to a son, Lạc Long Quân, born with the sacred name Sun Lam. As he entered the world, radiant light filled the halls, and a fragrance lingered long into the night. He grew to be a prince of great wisdom and unmatched virtue. When he came of age, the king commanded him to lead 30,000 soldiers on a journey not for war, but to explore the land, to understand the sacred flow of mountains and rivers, and to find the pulse of the earth. From Vat of Tian Quan, the prince followed the dragon-shaped currents, tracing the ancient veins that flowed from the great mountain Long all the way to Lin. The land stretched wide like children gathering around their parents. This, he knew, was the sacred land of the Viet. Upon returning to the northern court, Lạc Long Quân was honored by Emperor De Minh as the wise king of the south. His father, King Duong Vuong, was named the first sacred emperor of the southern realm. The people rejoiced. Peace spread across the land. Even distant tribes bowed in respect. One day, Emperor De Minh sent a celestial master, one who understood the heavens, the earth, and the spirits, to assist Lạc Long Quân. Together, they shaped the realm, naming rivers and mountains, building citadels and cities, dividing lands into provinces and villages. From the deepest forests to the outermost seas, the mark of a founding king was carved into the soul of the land. This is the legend of our ancestors. This is our origin. We were born wise, graceful, and humble. That sacred blood still flows through the veins of every child of Viet. We are not of the Hua people, nor of the Han lineage. We are the descendants of dragons and fairies. Okay. Thanks for listening, everyone. Next time I will go deeper into the Vietnamese people. Good night. I could choose to describe the Vietnamese people through the lens of science and archaeological proof, but that would take away the soul and poetry of our story. So instead, to keep things gentle and thoughtful, and not turn your sleep into a restless stream of dry facts, I will let the stream of our history flow through legend, literature, art, and the lived moments of our people. Let us now listen to the story of Saint Gióng, a symbol of how the ancient Vietnamese defended every inch of their sacred land. Long ago, in the era of the Han kings, there lived an elderly woman alone in a quiet village. One morning, while walking through her field, she noticed a strange footprint so large it had crushed several rows of eggplants. Startled, she exclaimed, "Whose foot could be this large?" Out of curiosity, she gently placed her own foot into the print. A strange shiver passed through her body. From that day on, she found herself with a child. Months passed, and she gave birth to a plump baby boy. She named him Gióng, yet Gióng was no ordinary child. Even as he turned 3, he could neither sit nor speak. He simply lay there, silent and still, as though listening to the deep hum of the earth itself. At that time, a fierce invasion swept through the land. The An army, led by a brutal general, ravaged villages, burned homes, and slaughtered the innocent. The royal army faltered, unable to resist. In desperation, the Han king sent envoys across the country in search of a warrior who could save the people. One day, a royal envoy passed through Giong's village. As the sound of the king's proclamation echoed from the loudspeaker, Giong's mother sighed while rocking her motionless child and said, half in jest, "If only my little one could speak and walk, perhaps he could help save our land." To her astonishment, Gióng turned to her and spoke his very first words. Calmly, but clearly, "Mother, please call the envoy to me." Stunned, the villagers gathered in disbelief. The envoy entered the humble house, curious to hear what the silent child had to say. Gióng looked him in the eye and said firmly, "Tell the king to forge me an iron horse, an iron sword, an iron suit of armor, and an iron helmet. I will go and drive out the invaders." Those present were awestruck. Surely, they thought, this was a divine being. The envoy hastened back to the capital, where the Han king, overjoyed, ordered every blacksmith to gather iron and forge what the boy had requested. The items, when completed, were enormous and heavy beyond measure. It took thousands of soldiers to carry them to Gióng. As the thunder of iron hooves approached the village, Giong's mother trembled with worrying. "My son, the king's men are arriving. This is no longer a game, what shall we do?" But Gióng sat up tall, calm and sure and said, "Do not worry, mother. But I must eat, feed me all you can." She cooked pot after pot of rice, yet no matter how much he ate, it was never enough. With each mouthful, Gióng grew larger, stronger. Soon, he towered above the house. The villagers came with food from all corners: rice, yams, fruits, cakes, and he consumed them all in silence, his body glowing with a quiet power. He then asked for clothes. Silks and fabrics poured in, yet every time new garments were tailored, they were already too tight. His body surged, swelling like a tree reaching for the sky. Before long, his head brushed against the rafters. When the iron horse, armor, and sword finally arrived, Gióng stepped outside. He stood tall and radiant. Then, with a voice like thunder rolling over the hills, he cried, "I am the heavenly general." He donned the iron suit, gripped the heavy sword, and leapt onto the iron steed. The horse roared and belched fire. Gióng spurred it forward, and together they flew toward the battlefield, flames trailing in their wake. In a blink, he reached the enemy lines. His sword flashed like lightning. His shouts shattered the sky. Wherever he struck, the earth trembled, and the invaders fell like leaves in a storm. Entire forests of enemy encampments were consumed in fire. Still, the general shouted commands, but it was in vain. The more they resisted, the stronger Gióng became. Suddenly, his sword shattered, but Gióng did not falter. With calm strength, he uprooted bamboo groves by the roadside and wielded them like living weapons. The enemies broke and fled, their commander crushed. In mere hours, the tide of war had turned. With peace restored, Gióng guided his flaming steed to the foot of Saint Gióng mountain. There, in silence, he removed his armor, laid down his helmet, and ascended into the heavens, man and horse, both leaving behind only the whisper of wind. In gratitude, the Hung king built a temple in Giong's home village, honoring him as Phahung Thien Vibong, the heavenly prince of Phahung. Even today, the land remembers him. Long chains of round ponds near Kim and Han Sok Esen are said to be the marks of his horse's hooves. The village once scorched by fire is still called Lang Che, and the bamboo he wielded charred at the tip still grows with golden hues. They are known as Giang, the sacred bamboo of Saint Gióng. This is the legend that every Vietnamese child hears as early as 2 or 3 years old. At first, it seems like a typical folk tale, just another mythical hero riding off into battle. But the story of Saint Gióng carries far more weight than its surface suggests. To truly understand it, we must look deeper. Who was he, really? Did he ever exist? And why would a child seemingly underdeveloped and silent for years become capable of something so extraordinary? There are legends not meant to glorify a single person, but to reflect the soul of a people. Saint Gióng, the miraculous figure who rode an iron horse, grew into a giant in a single day, and defeated the northern invaders, was likely never a historical man. Yet his image has endured in the Vietnamese consciousness as a timeless symbol of the people's strength, of an unyielding spirit, and of the yearning to live peacefully on their native land. Gióng bears no specific name, no known lineage, no princely title. The only trace he left behind is said to be in Sok Sen, on the outskirts of Hanoi. He was born to a humble farming woman, conceived from a mysterious footprint beginning as ethereal and unreal, as the collective imagination that shaped him. In many ways, Gióng is a child of memory. He is the embodiment of the Vietnamese spirit, carefully crafted through lullabies, tales told by firelight, and verses whispered across generations. In the legend, enemy forces from the north known as the An invaded. The king's army tried to resist, but failed. Only when the king sent emissaries throughout the land to seek help did a child silent for 3 years suddenly speak, asking to join the fight. What does this reveal? That the Vietnamese people have never been warlike. They do not rush to violence. They are quiet, gentle, deeply connected to the land, to the rice fields, the hills, the river banks. All they wish is to live simply under the thatched roofs of their villages. But when invaders step across the bamboo hedges, disturb the tranquil fields, then, and only then, do they rise. Not with royal armies, but with the force of the people's will. Saint Gióng is in essence a metaphor for the early southern communities of Vietnam, peaceful, harmonious with nature, yet capable of unity and immense power in the face of invasion. Gióng did not grow up in a palace. He did not emerge the moment war began. Only when the king called upon the people did the child grow suddenly, endlessly, consuming food in vast amounts, demanding iron armor, an iron whip, and an iron steed to ride into battle. This pattern mirrors the ancient Vietnamese village identity, where each person was deeply rooted in their local community, only connecting with the central state when danger touched their village. Individually, they were gentle like the wind through the trees, but united, they surged like ocean waves, relentless, unstoppable. And perhaps it is no coincidence that, coming from the rice fields and humble villages, when Giong's iron whip broke in battle, he did not falter. He pulled a bamboo stalk from the roadside and kept fighting. No modern weapons, it didn't matter. There was bamboo. That simple plant, humble and familiar, was transformed into a weapon, into a symbol of defiance. The same bamboo that shades their homes, feeds their livestock, and supports their lives, now became a sword in the hand of a giant. It rose with Gióng, standing beside him, the way generations of villagers, fishermen, farmers, mothers contributed grain, hands, and spirit to defend their homeland. And curiously, the way Saint Gióng grew mirrors how bamboo grows. In its early years, a bamboo shoot seemed barely to move. It spends 3-4 years sending roots deep into the earth, gathering quiet strength. Then, in a short span of time, it shoots upward, tall, straight, resilient. Gióng too was silent for 3 years. Then suddenly, he saw becoming a warrior, riding into myth, vanishing into the heavens after fulfilling his destiny. This miraculous growth is more than folklore. It is a reflection of Vietnam's hidden power, a quiet, humble strength that, once awakened, nothing can suppress. Saint Gióng, then, is not a hero separated from his people. He is his people. Gióng is the voice of countless generations who once sowed dry fields, patched torn clothes, and offered their last handful of rice to the resistance. Gióng is the bamboo stalk standing firm in the wind. He is the unbroken spirit. He is the eternal symbol of a small, but indomitable nation that has never bowed its head. That is how our beginnings are told through the lens of legend. Thank you for listening. May you have a peaceful sleep. We love you.